What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon coming today with some Rugby 24 news, some actual news, some official news from the source, which is what we want to be seeing. There's been a lot of stuff going on for the last few months about having to just try and find any info in the dirt. We have an official post from Rugby 24, not going to fill us maybe with all the confidence in the world, because when it looks like this, as opposed to a trailer of the game, you know it's not going to be particularly good, but we've been waiting for this official news. So we'll have a run through of what Rugby 24 is saying, BigAntStudios themselves, and we'll do a bit of a breakdown of what we can take away from it and what it means for Rugby 24 going forward. So I've been busy doing a bunch of videos. I've been crushing them out, doing all my Six Nations team announcements. Didn't even consider this would come out today, to be honest. 1 week from release, probably should have. Probably a little bit bad on my part, but it is top of my feed on Twitter. It is important. People are, of course, going to be talking about this. Let's jump in. Let's see what Rugby 24 has to say. Dear rugby fans, as we look forward to another year full of incredible rugby moments, we hope this year treats you well. That has nothing to do with the game. Firstly, we apologise for taking so long to bring you this long overdue update. At least they've included long twice, because, if you're over on the Discord, you know pretty much everyone is just a little bit bored now of waiting for no information to be coming out. The great news is that we have officially licensed almost all of the Rugby World Cup, some 140 plus nations and competitions for inclusion in Rugby 24. Now, they did say in all the sort of marketing it's 130 nations. It now says 140 nations plus competitions. We knew there was 130 plus nations and there was 15 competitions. You add them together, that's 140 plus. That's maybe some clever wording there. I think that's exactly the thing we already knew, but glad to know that they have officially licensed, all of these things in the game. They are going to be included. They've mentioned it once again in an official post. You can't back out of this now once the game's released and find out they have fake teams. Almost all of the rugby world, which is nice to know. I've heard from a couple of you guys who dropped me in DMs or actually come to me sort of directly who've said, oh, unfortunately, I already know that this team won't be in the game because it's very, very low ranking, or it's maybe not quite officially recognized in terms of like an international team and stuff, but glad that they've mentioned that once again. However, due to the intense rugby calendar during the 2023 World Cup year, we have not been able to secure access to enough of the teams to create the considerable amount of content needed to meet our original release timeframe. Now, the original release timeframe was before the World Cup, so the rugby calendar during the World Cup year to me is a bit like, shouldn't have been sorted before the World Cup. It was going to be a World Cup tie-in year. We already knew who the teams were going to be. Maybe they didn't know who the players in each team was going to be. They're going to have to wait for some of those announcements. But yeah, all right, maybe. I mean, there's probably a lot of work to do. No one's going to dispute there's a lot of work gone into this game by the sounds of it. And they delayed it once. This is going to be another further delay. But we knew they hadn't met their original release time frame. So when they were setting to release this game, by it being a time frame, they must have said somewhere between the World Cup and January. And when it couldn't be the World Cup, they moved it to that January date. We have decided that the best way forward is to release Rugby 24 into early access on Steam after we have a sufficient amount of content captured. We are currently traveling the world capturing teams and expect to have enough content in March with a view to completing all of the content captures sometime later in 2024, at which time will we release on console also. Now, this is interesting because, of course, Steam is the one place you cannot do anything with this game. You cannot pre-order it. It isn't up on any of the sites. You can, of course, pre-order it on console already. It's already on there. We've covered it on the channel numerous times now. They're going to be releasing it on early access on Steam. Great for someone like me as a content creator, because that is what I'll be playing it on. That's what I'll be recording it on when the game eventually comes out. But I do know a lot of you guys subscribe to the channel are console gamers. I know a lot of you in the Discord, are console gamers. So it looks like you guys are going to have to wait for a while. It does make me question why, if this is an option, it can be put into early access and players can be updated later on. Why couldn't it be in early access now? I assume at minimum by now, if they're going to release it in March, it got delayed by 6 months, Surely the top 10 teams in the world are done, right? I feel like you could probably do that now. So I'm guessing there's something a little bit more that's going to be an issue compared to just having your sort of player captures done, because I feel like you could do that now. Release it on the 30th in early access and just pre-warning, a lot of the teams won't have the sort of licensed players' faces and the photo geometry or whatever it's called. They haven't got that done. We'll update that through early access. You could still do that. We could still see the game, maybe? Don't know. Okay, I'll leave that one up to you guys in the comment section. We'll be releasing more information about Rugby 24's early access content and price in the coming weeks. We look forward to taking fans on this rugby journey with us and sincerely appreciate the patience that has been afforded us. Afforded us? Is that a sentence? Afforded to us, maybe. So we've got another delay. That's what this says. It's very well worded and it's it's a delay. The game is being delayed once again. I think most of us expected this. If you're over on our Discord channel now, all of us saw this coming. I'd given up really, paying attention to it every day. We've heard a lot of, fake information. Trailers were going to be coming and all that stuff. We knew it wasn't because you can't market a game that way. We knew this was going to be coming. The early access in March, awesome. We are going to miss the Six Nations window, which is a real shame. Means for anyone who's looking forward to me doing the Mad Dragon Six Nations, it'll all be done on Rugby 22. Once again, I'm glad I know this in advance, and I actually appreciate this very selfishly for me as a content creator, because I can now work on all my Six Nations videos not thinking about Rugby 24, and that's absolutely fine. When it comes out on early access in Steam, great. It means I can get a hold of it. It means I can play it on live stream. You guys can get to see it. All of you console gamers that are maybe on the fence about it, you get to watch it in early access and see how it's building up before spending your own money. I think that's a positive for you guys. Very weirdly, I don't think Rugby 24 and BigAntStudios have handled this launch in the best way. I'm sure there's probably far more work than they anticipated. But the way they've actually gone about the launch of the game, very weirdly, I've actually been kind of pleasantly surprised by. They didn't just chuck it out at the World Cup and release a terrible game. They said, we're going to lose a bunch of money, miss the World Cup, and release a better game. They've got round to now, it's the Six Nations, hype is building back up again. They've basically announced, we're going to miss the Six Nations window. BigAntStudios keep sort of taking the L and saying, we're going to keep missing it, we're going to keep missing it, we're going to delay it, it's getting pushed back. This is a big blow to them constantly, and I assume they've got a lot of pressure on their backs from like nacon and sort of investors and stuff in this game. For the player base, not great. We've lost a game. The game was going to come out by the time this eventually comes out on console. It'll be a year, right? It'll be a year until that sort of got released from the original release window. Sucks to be a rugby gamer, but I'm glad we haven't all had to spend our money on an unfinished game. I'm glad we haven't had another terrible game released to us for the rugby, sort of brand. I'm very glad that they keep doing this and taking the L, and we're taking the L a bit with them, but I'm glad of the way they're doing this. They're refusing to release an incomplete game until they get it to us. And a lot of other companies don't. I'm a big gamer. I like playing other games. The amount of games I have played recently that suck on release, and I cannot believe that they are allowed to be released in the state they are. I'm actually okay with this, but I know a lot of you guys aren't. I know a lot of you guys want the game now, and I think that's expected. You wanted the game before the World Cup. We've been delayed yet again. I can imagine a lot of people are unhappy about this decision coming out. Hey guys, me again. I'm just editing the video now. I've realised I've missed out a bit of clarification. What I'm talking about at this point is that I am happy that they are delaying a game rather than release it in a poor state and just taking the money. The one thing that I've actually not mentioned in the video, which I think some people might misinterpret it as, is that I'm happy with how the launch has gone entirely. That's not the case. BigAntStudios definitely need to be feeding us more information, even if it's not good news like today. I'm perfectly happy with putting out stuff like this that might even make the player base a little bit mad. Give us updates along the way. You've got to be a little bit more vocal. Let us know some teams. Give us some screenshots and stuff. That stuff should be included, and I really hope that does get better as we get close to that early access release. What I'm specifically talking about in the video, though, is the way that they are delaying it and giving us a better game rather than holding on to it. So a little bit of clarification, because I know a couple of people will probably misinterpret that a little bit, and I'll chuck you guys back into the video. Again, I've been quite vocal about this in other videos and on Twitter and stuff, and in the Discord. I don't mind a game getting released as long as it's perfect on release. The early access of doing this now is going to be a great way for me to get in, stress test some stuff, give feedback to BigAntStudios as the game is progressing and stuff. I really like what they're doing with this, and not just taking the money and running. They obviously want to build a big game, but it's probably been too much work for them compared to what they maybe expected when they first started. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. I'm going to be around this week as well over on the Discord server. I'll be jumping in chats as well, so we can actually have little chats and stuff. And I might even do a live stream at the end of the week. I feel like there's enough talking points to go on now for the Six Nations and this. I might do a live stream on sort of like Thursday, Friday, maybe. I'll have a look what I fancy doing. I'll drop it on the community tab anyway. But yeah, another delay for Rugby 24, but at least we've got some more positive news about things being secured and an early access release coming out in March, I have no doubt, post Six Nations. But we'll see how that gets on. I hope you've all enjoyed this one today, guys. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.